and welcome to another episode of The Final Nail. I'm Mina Green, your guide in all things death and burial. Today's episode is going to be a little bit different. If you have listened to our previous episodes, you know that we talk about different burial and cremation options for a deceased loved one. Typically, this deceased loved one is a human, but today we'll be discussing what you can do for a deceased pet.
I'm Grace and I run my small business, That Vegan Vulture. I've named it that way to encompass the two biggest parts of me that created that business, which is being vegan, the love of animals and nature, and Vulture, which is the collection and the cleaning of bones, because it's those two things that really tie that business into what it is. I started the business through foraging, cleaning, and then selling to people, and I've now worked it more towards doing commissions for people. So people approach me with if they want their pet's remains, if they want any other animals, or if I've found something and someone's been wanting that animal for years and now I've got it, so they can commission me to clean it for them instead. That's kind of what the business is working with animals after death.
And since it is such an interesting career choice, what is it that got you started in it?
When I was a teenager, so I've been vegan for a while, and I fought with this love of loving animal bones and collecting them, but also being vegan. And I would contact other people that sell bones, because selling bones is a larger market than people expect. But I kind of got duped when I was in that position. So I thought that they were ethical, the person said they were ethical, and I found out the bones came from fur farms, and to me that didn't sit right with what I agreed with and didn't agree with. And it was at that point that I realised there is a bit of a space for someone that people can really trust, with the fact that me being vegan, they know I'm not going to go to hunters, I'm not going to go to butchers or fur farms and things like that. So that's how the business actually started, was me just going out and foraging and helping other people find bones that they might not necessarily be able to access. And at that point, it was mainly just people asking me if I did commissions when they'd found an animal outside. People approached me with a bird they'd found and asked if I would clean it for them. And then I realised that people wanted that with their pets as well. Because when our pets die, we're mostly just told that you can bury them or you can get them cremated. And they're your main two options. And no one ever really thought about, you can have their skull or you can have their skeleton and you can have them with you still, instead of a little jar with ashes in, if that's not what you want. So the first person to approach me was actually someone with a dog that asked if I would do it. So it was quite a big first commission to do.
Yeah.
So it was quite scary. But after that point, once I started speaking about that to people at markets or online, I've had quite a lot of people approach me saying that they're glad they've found something that they can do with their pet that isn't the traditional burying them outside or getting them cremated, because they want something of them still. That's how that side of the commission started, working with people's animals.
So what is the process for that?
It depends really what state the animal's in when I start working with them. So if I'm working with pets, usually obviously it's a very fresh animal. So going into a bit of detail here, I start quite like traditional taxidermy, where you have to skin the animal and then remove as much as you can from the body, because I work with bones rather than with the skin. So I have to get as much off of the skeleton as possible. Unfortunately, with pets, I can't naturally decompose them, which is what I try to do with other animals. So if I find a fox outside or something, I try to let nature do as much as it can first. With pets, I can't do that, because a lot of the time pets have been euthanized, and those chemicals aren't good for wildlife. They're not good to put back into the earth. So I have to be a bit more hands-on with pets and do it myself from the beginning. Most of the process after that point is quite hands-off. It works a lot with water. So once I've got as much off the body as possible, I put them in water for, it can take up to a year for the bones to be clean. It gets everything off of the bones, you know, all tendons, bits of flesh, whatever's left. And then at that point, once everything's off, the whole skeleton separates. So I can only do that with larger animals like dogs, cats. And at that point, depending on what the person wants. So I'm cleaning someone's dog at the moment. They don't want that skeleton built. They just want his skeleton back organised into pieces. So he's almost clean. And at that point, I won't be building the skeleton. So what I'll do is I'll put his skull back together, glue his teeth in, organise the bones, label them, and then they'll receive that commission like that. Some people want the skeletons built. So after I've cleaned that, I've got to organise them all and actually start putting the skeleton back together, talking with them about what pose they want. With pets, I ask them what kind of characteristics their pets showed. So someone said that their cat used to sit up and beg all the time, so their cat's going to be posed like that as a skeleton because it captures who that cat was when it was alive. That's mostly it.
That sounds really cool, actually.
It's quite intense working hands-on like that.
Especially the rebuilding the whole skeleton.
That's the fun bit.
Yeah.
It's like a really, really hard jigsaw.
How do you rebuild the skeleton?
The bones have to be drilled. So I'll drill through the centre of the spine, for example, and then I have a thick wire to pose that. That goes throughout the majority of the skeleton, the wire to hold it all together. Naturally we have between our vertebrae and our spine, we've got discs. They dissolve at this point. So I have to use little bits of felt to keep the spine separated as it would be naturally, to create a more natural position. After that, it's a lot of gluing, if I'm honest. And then the wires just keep it a bit sturdier.
And how long does, obviously this will differ from size, I'm assuming, but how long does the process usually take?
So something larger like a cat, just being in water and then degreasing and whitening the bones can take a year to 2 years. Building the skeleton would be at least, I'm looking at 10 solid hours of hands-on work, but I don't usually do it like 10 hours at once.
No.
So it'll be over a week or a couple of weeks, depending what time I can fit in where. Smaller animals like snakes or rats, I have to do a bit of a different method, so they're a lot quicker because I don't leave them in water to macerate. And then I don't have to build the skeleton completely at the end either because it's a degreasing chemical and hydrogen peroxide. And going through that method with smaller animals, it keeps the membrane over the skeleton there. So I separate the skeleton into its main portions, which is the spine and the rib cage, each leg, the head, maybe the tail. And then after they've all posed, I can just put those segments back together.
Okay.
So that takes a lot less time. That can be less than a year.
Okay, that's a lot easier of a job there.
Yeah.
What kinds of commissions is it that you have gotten so far, and who is it that normally would commission you then, if it is mostly pet owners or mostly people who just see a cool animal?
At the moment, it's actually mostly pet owners. Again, I think it's because of this, it's quite new. It's something people haven't really thought about. I do have a few commissions other than that are where I've found animals and I'm just holding on to them because I don't have the time for them yet. And then someone's gone, oh, actually, I would really like that. For example, I've got a mallard duck and someone really, really wanted a duck. So they messaged me and it just turned out that I had one. So I was able to do that commission for them. I do have smaller commissions where, say, other businesses that work with bones don't necessarily have the means to clean them. They can come to me and I can do that step for them before they then create with them or make jewellery or do whatever they do with the bones afterwards. So it's a really, really big range of types of commissions, but it is primarily pet owners.
And do you do any of the like, can somebody commission you to do the jewellery making bit you as well, or do you just do the cleaning the bones and send them, and if they want jewellery they'll have to do that bit themselves?
No, I do the jewellery myself as well, and displays. So I get big glass domes if people want to do some kind of diorama with a skeleton in it. I sell jewellery myself at markets for, like, where the way I started the business, with it being mostly me just selling before the commission started, it was things like jewellery, display boxes, just like skulls on their own. So if people did want, for example, if they wanted a necklace made out of their cat's whiskers or something like that, I could absolutely do commissions like that as well.
And how is it that you set your pricing and get paid for this work?
So I try to keep things as low as possible, because I know, especially with pets, it is really, really hard losing a family member, because that's what they are. So I only charge for my hands-on time, so it doesn't include all the time that they're sitting in water, macerating. It's just the hands-on time that I'm physically working on them, so that beginning process or building the skeleton, and then the price of the materials on top of that. And I know a lot of companies ask for quite a lot of money straight away, or most of it. I just ask people for like a little bit of a deposit at first, usually about 25% of however much I've quoted them. And then after that, it's completely up to the owner if they want to pay in small installments for over 2 years, or if they would rather just pay like one lump sum at the end. And again, because it's such a difficult position to be in, I'm really lenient with people and just let them know that if it comes to the end, if I've finished and they don't have the money yet, I'll happily just hold on to them until they're ready, or if they're not ready to see any process photos, anything like that, then I won't send them. It's just, I leave it in the owner's hands for that kind of side of things.
How is it for you, if there is any difference in the foraging or doing the commission and somebody giving you their pet?
I don't know if there is much of a difference in a sense, because I view most animals as equals anyway to each other. Like, I don't really see a difference between a fox and a dog, or a cat and a bird outside, or anything like that. It's more so just the case of when someone brings me a pet, I know that that animal was loved by someone and it has a family that wants them back. Whereas when I've gone out foraging, those animals, no one had the opportunity to love those animals. So it's more just the connection with the animals that feels a little different. So when I forage them, it's more of, now we get this opportunity to appreciate what this animal used to be. Whereas with pets, it's more like holding on to them from what we already know about them and what we love.
How do people commission you?
So, like, how can they contact me and things like that? I get a lot of people just message me on things like Instagram or Facebook, or I've got my website where I've got all the information on what kind of commissions I can do with a contact me form. So people can contact me if they have any specific questions, if they don't know if I'll do a certain animal, or if they want a bit of a quote or time estimation before they go ahead with asking me for anything. But it's mainly just direct emails, direct messages for things like that.
A massive thank you to Grace for coming and talking to us about this incredible option for our pets. It's an option I wish I had known when I lost my cats, and maybe it is one that you want to consider for your pets. And of course, also a massive thank you to you for listening, and I will catch you in the next episode of The Final Nail.